Hi, I'm Jerry Ford and welcome to my studio. It's Thursday night, it's time to learn something new. And so what we're going to do tonight is make this lovely bottle apron to serve your special sparkling wine during your Thanksgiving dinner. It's easy to do, you just need a 5x7 hoop. The design is free. If you send me an email at waltzquilt@yahoo.com, I'll be happy to share this design with you. Okay, so let's get started. For this project, you're going to need a few things. You're going to need a 5x7 hoop, and I have hooped it with a piece of dissolve away stabilizer. This is going to wash away. You're going to need a couple other stabilizers. Dissolve away stabilizer is nice to have. It's going to give us a nice, clean, finished edge when we're done. But it's not a lot of support throughout the life of this item because every time you wash it, the forces of the embroidery are going to distort a little bit. So to keep it nice through the laundering process, we're also going to float, and we'll talk about that later, a piece of the no-show mesh stabilizer, which is a very light stabilizer. This only supports not a whole lot of stitches, so we may need a little bit more. So I have a scrap of a medium weight tearaway, and this will help support some of the designs without keep it from puckering. Okay, so now the fabrics you need. I'm using a piece of linen, but you could use cotton or anything. And this one is, just big enough to cover the 5x7 hoop. Maybe about a 6x10 piece will be quite long enough. You'll also going to need to use some kind of spray starch on it. I like to use Terreal Magic, which is like spray starch on steroids, because it makes it nice and stiff, and it helps the fabric to resist puckering. If you don't have Terreal Magic, just take some heavy spray starch, not sizing, not clear and press, but you want a heavy spray starch. The cheap stuff you get at the dollar store is just fine. And then if you're just using the spray starch, put on about maybe 4 to 6 layers of spray starch to make it relatively stiff. And for the back, you just need another piece. I'm using the same linen, but I just put spray starch, a couple of layers of spray starch on it. This doesn't need to be as stiff. Then here's the colors I selected. These are for the pumpkin, the turkey wattle. These are the 2 colors for the 2 browns for the turkey body, the 2 greens for the leaves, the grass, and this is the stems for the pumpkins, gold, black, and a burgundy. Things that are nice to have is a sharp pair of embroidery scissors. I like these curved ones. They're a little bit curved. That helps to trim things away. I like to use these. This sounds strange, but these are quilter's pins, and they're really bent, and you'll see why. If I'm just using this dissolve away stabilizer, I like to use T-pins, and they come in 3 sizes. Any of these sizes will do. And what you do is this is going to help keep that fabric from drawing in and giving you puckers. So if you just take this every inch or so, and then you put them like this, what I'm doing is I'm just piercing outside of the hoop, and what happens is that the T part holds that stabilizer in nice and tight and keeps it from drawing in. So let me get a few of these. I have a whole big box of them. These I got in the upholstery department at I think I got these at G Street Fabrics, but that was a long time ago. I've had these for centuries. Well, not really centuries, but, and I'm just going to put them right here. See, it's going to stay out of the way of the machine. This just helps to hold things a lot firmer. And the weak part of any hoop is the longest area, and that tends to draw in. You don't have to put them at the top and the bottom, but you may if you like, if you feel like it's going to draw in. This is a great tip that I got from John Deere, who is like a master embroiderer, actually a master digitizer. I don't need all these, but I'll put them in anyway. I'm going to take a piece of cutaway stabilizer. This one is the no-show mesh. And I'm going to float it on the bottom, which means I'm going to use these pins for now. I'll just flip this over. And I'm just going to temporarily put these pins, and you can use 4. Actually, I only need 2. Because these are only going to be used to transport your fabric to the machine. And I can hold on to the bottom edges. I'll just put 1 down here just to hold it. It's just to hold it in place while I take this to the machine. Let's go to the machine and let's get stitching. I've loaded the design into my machine. Here it is. So I'm going to select it and hit set and go all the way to embroidery. And this is using a 5x7 frame. So I'm going to insert the frame into the machine. Now those pins are holding the top in, so I don't have to worry about it. And I can see underneath that the bottom is nice and flat. I can now remove these pins. I want to load the needle with this dissolve away thread. This is Vanish Extra by Superior Threads. And the reason I'm doing that is we're going to do a tack down stitch. When you're done, a lot of times when you do a tack down, when you finish doing the satin stitch at the end, you'll see a line of stitching just going through where the fabric is pulled in. So to prevent any of that happening, I use this dissolve away thread because if it shows, I don't care. It's going to completely dissolve away. It has a tendency to break. I do not worry about that. Just back it up and keep going. And I'm just going to float my fabric on the top. You can put it down with an adhesive, but it is not necessary. And so now this is just going to tack in all 3 layers. Okay, I know it is a little hard to see this, but all 3 layers are tacked down. We're going to start stitching the feathers. So now I've put the burgundy red. I have 3 colors, burgundy red, light brown, and like a golden color for the feathers. Okay, so this is fine. So I've taken the wash away thread off. Now the next thing is we are going to start stitching the turkey itself. And this turkey is a little bit stitch intensive. So what I'm going to do is float that piece of tearaway underneath this sort of center area where the turkey is going to go. And that's going to help give it a little bit more support for the stitching. Okay, and I'll stitch the red. And I will do this off camera because this is like watching grass grow. And I will be right back. Okay, it's stitched out the red. And this time I think I'll do like a fairly light brown for the next set of feathers. And again, I will be back when it's done stitching. All right, the next color is like, I decided to use the gold. Again, you use whatever color you like. Okay, and now it's doing the last set of feathers. All right, next I'm going back to that light brown for the owl's body. Sorry, I had a goof. I had forgotten to change the thread. Okay, I'll let this finish stitching and then I will be right back. All right, now we got the body, so now I put in a dark brown for the bird's wings. And again, I'll be back when it's done stitching the wings. All right, back to the light brown for the bird's head. And once again, I will be back when it's done stitching because this is like watching grass grow. And now we have color stop. number 8, which is going to be black for his hat and for his eyes. All right, and color stop number 9 is going to be red for the turkey waddle. Okay, we're all done with the turkey except for his beak. Now you may have a few jump stitches and that's okay. But next is orange for the pumpkins. Okay, now I've loaded a burnt orange into the needle, and this is for the details on the pumpkins. All right, now I've loaded the green for the leaves on the pumpkins and the grass underneath the pumpkins. And I will be back after this. Okay, next is the stems of the pumpkin, and I've used a rather unusual green, like a grayish green, but you could use a brown as well for the stems. Okay, we're all finished with stitching the turkey. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and remove the stabilizer, the tearaway stabilizer from the back. It's easier done on the table. See, it's easier on the table to remove it. Always pull it towards the stitching. And I put 2 layers on here because I had a thread jam, and so I wanted just a little more support there. You don't have to get every little bit of it out, but you don't want it shadowing through, especially if your background fabric is white. Then now what we need to do is we're going to put the backing fabric on. So here's the backing fabric. And I'm going to, again, use those pins just to hold it in place while I transport this to the machine. So I'm going to put pins up in the corner. You want it to make sure that it covers all of the stitching. We're going to do some trimming in a bit. Just pin this here for now. All right, now I'm going to take this back to the machine because what we're going to start is stitching the bottle apron. It's going to do a satin stitch for the outline as well as for the eyelet openings. So I am going to wind a bobbin with the same thread that we use in the needle. And so let's go back to that machine. Okay, I put a lighter ecru color on to match my linen, and I'm going to change out the bobbin. And I'm using a leveler because I'm using an N-size bobbin in a machine that normally takes a class 15 bobbin, which is a little thicker. So now I'm just going to load this beige into the machine. It's also going to make for a little bit thicker satin stitch, which is good. And now we're going to remove the hoop from the machine because now we're going to turn this over and we're going to trim away the backing, the no-show mesh, as well as the front. Okay, so let's go to the table to do that. Got my curved scissors and I'm going to trim 1 layer at a time, just as close to that stitching as I can. Try not to cut through it. I'm going to cut through first the backing. If you have to get some rough spots, just put your finger underneath for support. push the scissor against your hand. And it's nice to have these kinds of scissors because they cut flat this way. And therefore, you're not going to be cutting through the layers. You just want to cut the one. I'm also going to cut this no-show mesh. It helps to pull it up as you cut. You're left with just the dissolve away mesh underneath. Now I've finished the back. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing on the front. Back to the machine. That looks nice. Okay, so now we're ready to last color stop. So I've got the same color thread in the needle and in the bobbin, and we're just going to stitch. It's going to stitch the eyelets first. Okay, I'm going to finish stitching this off camera and then I will be back. Okay, it's done stitching. Turned out really well. Okay, here we go. Okay, let's take it to the table and let's finish this up. Okay, it's all finished. So now we just have to remove this from the frame. I'm just going to actually use my seam ripper. Nice sharp seam ripper gets you 99% there. This is the dissolve away mesh. So it's not that important that you get it perfect. So you can see a little bit of fuzziness, and that's okay. You can leave it there for now. Although, if you're going to leave it and not wash this out, what you'll want to do is just take a little bit of water, like on a Q-tip or something, or a little sponge. These little sponges on a stick that I got probably from the doctor's office, and just take this along the edge and it will dissolve completely away. Didn't come, get it closer than that with scissors. Get it as close as you can. And this is if you're not going to wash this first. You can. See, that finishes the edges really, really nicely. And see, all that's dissolved right along the edges with no problems. Now, if you're going to wash this, which will get all of the stabilizer out of it once and for all, you're going to want to rinse this in cold water for about 10-15 minutes. Let it dry and then press it the rest dry and then give it some more spray starch, and that will finish it off. Now, to open up these eyelets, remember these things? This came with your machine. It is an eyelet cutter, and we use this. It's supposed to be for cutting out eyelets. You want to use a cutting mat underneath, and then just, now if it's dirty, take a pin. This one is clogged. Just take a pin and punch all the little pieces through. There. Okay, and then you use it to cut. Let's see, now that'll cut through. No, I want to cut those little threads there. Well, it's there. You can cut it. Just go through it. If you push it through and then clip from the back. But you want to cut through all these eyelets. My eyelet cutter's not very sharp anymore. Alternatively, I have a crocodile, which will work really well too. You want to use this smaller one. And you got to peek in here and make sure you get it. Yeah, see, that worked really much better. The crocodile is sharp. The other one isn't. Okay, so you just have to peek inside to see if you can see when those little prongs come out. Put them in the middle of the eyelet and miss like I just did. Okay. There. You want to get that right in the middle. I missed one. Oh, well, I sort of missed most of them, but this is just a sample. Take your time and do this. And probably don't do it the dangerous way. Then we're going to start to lace these. That one that's messed up so bad, I'm just going to go ahead and put a regular metal eyelet in here to help get that going. Okay, so I'm going to come up here, poke it through, and poke it through, and then lace these up. There, get it started. I have my bottle of Welch's grape juice. I can just put this on top here. That sort of, I'm using about 1.5 yards of 1/8 inch wide ivory ribbon, and then just start lacing this up. And actually it helps to use the seam ripper to push it through. Just lace it just like a shoe. Loosen this so that it's going down correctly. Okay, and then tie your ribbon around. You are ready to serve. Look how cute that is. I love that. So this is a lot of fun. I had a great time doing this. I made a mess. Now, lessons learned. Be very careful if you're using a crocodile. Use an eyelet cutter or even a little pair of scissors, because I cut my threads. Can I fix that? Yeah, I'm just going to put some regular eyelets on here and it will be fine. I'm still going to use it. And you can pull this down as loose or as tight as you need it in order to fit it how you want it. And now you're ready for Thanksgiving dinner. Okay, and then see, it even matches our November mug rug of the month. I think it turned out cute. Okay. Send me an email at waltzquilt@yahoo.com if you want a copy of this design as well as the written instructions, and I'll be happy to send them to you. And until next week, happy Thanksgiving and happy sewing. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. I'll see you later. Oh, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so we can let you know when the next set of videos are released. Bye.